Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our Cohort 5 Freight Innovation Fund application support webinar today. I'm just going to run through a short agenda. So first, we're going to have our Head of Highways and Integrated Transport, Steve Pyre, to do a bit of a Connected Places Catapult introduction, followed by our Freight Innovation Fund lead, Alyssa Thomas, providing a bit of an overview on program from a DFT perspective. I'll then be providing an overview of the accelerator for Cohort 5 and the scope of it this year. And then Alessandra Crema, our service designer, will be talking through the 4 challenge areas that we've put through this year, followed by a short overview of the application and selection process, and if we have a couple of minutes, a Q&A as well. So Steve, over to you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here. My name is Steve Pyre. I'm Director of Highways and Integrated Transport at the Connected Places Catapult, and the Freight Innovation Fund is ultimately my responsibility. But there is, as you have met and you will meet along the way, an amazing team making sure that this still remains one of the flagship government accelerators. Today really is about helping you make sure you get the strongest possible application forward. I have been through funding applications myself before for my own business, and it was daunting and it is complex. But as you'd expect with public funds, it does need to be robust. And we are audited to make sure the funding is being used correctly. So if you're not sure of anything, please reach out to any of the team. They're really, really happy to help. Just briefly who we are, if you don't know the Catapult, we are sort of the government and the UK's innovation accelerator for transport, cities and places. We are government funded, but importantly, we are also independent. So our role is to help really good ideas, and hopefully we'll see lots of them coming through as this programme progresses, is getting those good ideas to move from concept into real world use. So that means that we sort of work across industry, the public sector and innovators, trying to help connect the dots to make sure things are deployed in the real world. What we've found as we've gone through is that, well, challenges in freight and innovation more broadly, getting those ideas adopted and scaling them in real world environments is tricky. So where we sit, we sort of sit right in the centre between innovators like yourselves, industry, and then the public sector. So we help connect everybody that leads to real world deployment and trials of systems. So as you go through today and through the application process, please know that our role in the programme is to help you succeed. That's what the catapults are here to do. We literally catapult people over the valley of death from early TRLs to latter TRLs and commercial success. We've got lots of successful programs we've gone through, as you'll hear from Hannah later. So please do reach out to any of our team as we go through. You will find later there are links to webinars where you can come and ask any questions. And yeah, we look forward to seeing exactly what comes through this process and what you're going to suggest and promote through into the Freight Innovation Fund. So thank you very much for your time. I think I'm going to pass over now to Alyssa from the Department for Transport.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for that introduction, Steve. So yes, as Hannah introduced me at the top, my name is Alyssa Thomas and I'm the Freight Innovation Fund lead at the Department for Transport. I've been embedded in the team for several years now, and I've worked with other colleagues that have previously led on this programme, so I've got quite a bit of insight into how the fund works, and having previously worked on other aviation and aviation innovation programmes within the DFT too. So slightly grounded in innovation, you could say. So let's take you on a bit of a journey. So what do we know about the innovation within the kind of freight and logistics landscape? Well, like any sector, freight and logistics faces current and emerging challenges. But at the same time as facing those challenges, what this does is it presents opportunities. So we know innovations, for example, could bring about efficiency gains to the sector, emissions reduction, increased resilience and improvements to staff training and well-being, for example. But as it says here, you know, the sector often has limited visibility of those emerging solutions, and innovators often lack the insight into the sector's operational needs. So why does this matter to the DFT, and why does it matter to wider UK government? Well, like I've said, we recognise that those challenges exist for the sector and for innovators, but there are challenges that go beyond what I've already mentioned. So, for example, we know that the freight and logistics sector is characterised by low margins and competing priorities, and we know that innovators face hurdles as they progress their ideas through the technology readiness levels. So nurturing and advancing innovative ideas is vitally important, because we know that failing to do so means that we risk missing opportunities that could contribute to economic growth, decarbonisation, and more besides. And you can see here, our key government priorities are growth and carbon, so reducing emissions, decarbonisation. So this is why it really matters for government, something like the Freight Innovation Fund and innovation within the freight and logistics sector, which is a cornerstone of our economy, particularly in terms of growth. So there's an opportunity here for government to intervene. There's an opportunity for the freight innovation to do some good. And what does that look like? It's not only about understanding how viable solutions can address challenges in the sector, but it's also about bringing freight and logistics operators and innovators together, getting them talking, getting them having those conversations, and kind of bridging that gap of understanding that currently exists. But it's also about us as government funding and supporting trials of innovative technologies that we know that can deliver some of the opportunities that I pointed to earlier on. Next slide, please. So you kind of get a sense here on this slide of what we've achieved to date. We've developed sector challenges with industry partners. We've increased awareness of innovative solutions in the sector. All of this is what we've achieved through the Freight Innovation Fund and through the Accelerator, and obviously much more besides, as that slide shows there. But beyond this, the Accelerator has also done more. As I touched on previously, it's helped forge partnerships between the sector and between innovators that often continue beyond the Accelerator, beyond the programme. It's led to letters of intent, it's led to commercial contracts. So we know that the Innovation Fund does deliver. We know that it does a lot. We also know that it encourages the sector to think about emerging challenges. And I think Hannah might touch upon this later in terms of sector challenges that apply to this programme. But that's what we do, is we work with the industry partners. We get a sense of what they're experiencing, what they're facing, what the barriers are that they have, and some of the things that they're looking to overcome by working with innovators to come up with those solutions and to trial them and to test them in those realistic environments. Next slide, please. So this slide here gives a bit of a sense of some of the success stories that we've had through the 4 going into the now 5 years of the Freight Innovation Fund. You can see here we've got Royal Mail and Skyports delivering the UK's first drone-delivered mail service in Orkney. You've got Robark raising the $2.1 million to boost industrial safety and efficiency. And there are many, many more examples of projects that have been successful through the Accelerator that have gone on to achieve beyond the programme, in part due to the funding that government's provided. But beyond that, there are other indicators of the fund's success. As I've mentioned, this is the 5th year of the Freight Innovation Fund. We've had 4 previous years. We've given, I think, more than £13 million worth of funding. This shows that the government recognises that there's value, that there's a need for an innovation programme that focuses on freight and logistics. The fact that the funding continues to come and we continue to go from year to year with a new Accelerator programme. Another indication of its success is the fact that freight and logistics operators that pair up with the innovators, that provide those realistic environments for them to trial their ideas in, they return to the programme year after year, keen to partner again with innovators. And also, not only do we have kind of existing freight and logistics operators return to us, we have new ones join. So they get wind of the programme, they want to participate, they also want to be a part of the Freight Innovation Fund. And another thing, our Freight Innovation Cluster, which is designed to bring those who operate and have an interest in freight and logistics together, that's gone from strength to strength. It now has over 400 members, so another indicator of the success of the fund. And finally, the number of applications we receive, that continues to grow year on year, and again demonstrates that there is value in this fund and that it's worthwhile, and that innovators like yourselves are keen to engage and be part of it. Next slide, please. So our message to you here, as it says, we can improve the freight and logistics sector. And as Steve said previously, we're really interested to see what applications you're going to come forward with, what innovative ideas that you have, and how those can deliver some of the opportunities that we believe exist within the freight and logistics sector, and similarly can improve the kind of wider economic picture. And yeah, really grateful to have you all on the call today. And again, thank you very much. Hand over to Hannah.
Thank you so much, Alyssa, for providing that really useful and in-depth overview of the Freight Innovation Fund and what we've achieved so far. Just a reminder to everybody in the webinar, if you do have any questions, don't feel the need to hold on to them until the end. If you post them into the Q&A box now, we will be able to get to them later, just in case you forget along the way. Now that we've had a brief overview of CPC and the Freight Innovation Fund, I'll be talking a bit more about the accelerator for cohort 5. Next slide, please. So the accelerator this year will be broken up into 2 parts, a trial design phase and a trial delivery phase. We'll select up to 12 SMEs who are TRL 5+ for the trial design stage. That will then be down selected to 8 SMEs at the trial delivery stage. For phase 1, that can be up to £10,000 of funding for the trial design and up to £100,000 in phase 2 for trial delivery. The program will run for 7 months, beginning in August this year and running until March of next year. I'll talk a little bit more about the sort of resources that you'll get as part of the accelerator later on, but just to provide a little bit of an overview of the challenges which you must meet to apply for this program. Those are renewable energy supply, autonomy in freight and logistics, supply chain resilience, and an open challenge. Next slide, please. So just to provide a bit of an overview of the structure of the program. So you would have seen that the open call is already live, and that will be running until June 1st at midday, which is the last point where you can submit your application. We then have a very in-depth SME selection process that will run between June and July. That will be an initial sifting process through your application, and then we will be inviting a shortlisted group of SMEs to interview before confirming who has gotten through to the trial design phase in August. As I said, it's up to 12 SMEs for that first phase and up to 8 SMEs for that second phase. And those SMEs will also receive, as well as a lot of trial delivery support and, the funding and the access to partner resources to deliver their trials, business support as well. We will then end the program with the showcasing event. Sorry, Kat. Showcasing event in February, an evaluation and sort of ending of your trial by the end of March. Thanks. Next slide. This is just to provide, again, a bit of an overview of the funding. So it will be expected that SMEs can have up to £10,000 for trial design phase. That will come with 30% of match funding. So there's a bit of an example, if you do need a total of £10,000 for that trial design stage, we will expect you to match fund £3,000 of that. And then similarly for the trial delivery phase, it's £100,000. So you would have to match fund 30% of that as well. Next slide. Just to provide a bit of an overview of our industry partners for cohort 5, we're very excited that we have 8 partners on board so far. And these are industry partners that you can choose to apply with, or you can choose to apply with your own trial partners as well. So we've got DHL, Port of Time, DFDS, Shoreham Port, Welch Group, 2040, GXO, and Portsmouth International Port this year. If you want a bit more information about these partners, what challenges they're interested in, please do go onto the open call page. Under supporting documents, you will have details under partner profiles to understand a bit more about who those partners are and what they're looking for, which will really help your application if you can tailor it towards what they're looking for. We have also the challenge document, which Ali is going to talk a little bit more about our 4 challenges, but that provides a really in-depth view of exactly what we're looking for in each challenge area, as well as an FAQ page and a T's and C's page to give you a bit of a flavor of what we'll be looking for in the program and the selection process. Next slide. So I'm just talking a little bit about what we offer as part of the Accelerator program. Of course, I've already talked about the funding side, but we have a dedicated trial support team that will support you through putting together really bespoke trial design plan that you will write with your industry partners. And making sure that, in your monthly check-ins with your trial partners and with CPC, we guide you along the way to make sure you have the most successful trial possible. We also have business modeling, marketing, and investment support. These SMEs have found every single year to be extremely supportive. So we're not only supporting you in terms of getting you to go from TRL 5 to maybe 7, but also helping you commercialize your product as well. We have a showcase event that happens every February that is really successful. We had over 100 people attend last year where our SMEs showcased where they were at in terms of their trials, what outcomes and impact they were creating through being part of our Accelerator program. And of course, membership to our Freight Innovation Cluster, which now has over 450 SMEs, academics, public bodies, and investors and industry partners. Next slide. So Alyssa touched on this a little bit when she was talking about her success stories and what we've achieved so far through the Freight Innovation Fund Accelerator. But I just wanted to give a bit more of an in-depth view of exactly how much impact this Accelerator program has been able to enable for our SMEs. So last year we received 105 applications that were shortlisted down to 26 for interview, 15 for the trial design phase, and 9 at the trial delivery phase. We had 6 program partners and 2 independent partners. So as I said, if you feel that your solution isn't quite matched with the program partners that we do have, you can apply with an independent partner as well. The 1.4 million pass-through that went to SMEs was match funded by £500,000, and the business modeling, marketing support enabled 12 to 15 million pounds worth of active investment rounds that are still now ongoing. It also enabled 15 jobs, 63 investor introductions and showcases, and 7 letters of intent. I won't cover everything, but hopefully you can see through this slide that being a part of this Accelerator program is extremely meaningful and can bring a lot of value to you and your solution. Next slide, please. So I'll hand over to Ellie to talk a little bit more about the challenges that we've put together for this year.
Thank you, Hannah. Everyone, I'm Alessandra. I'm a service designer within the strategic team at the Catapult. And I've been looking at the challenge scoping for the program. This included expert interviews. We had an industry workshop and also co-design sessions with our partners so that we can shape challenges based on the sector's insights and needs. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay, perfect. So the challenges have been shaped on our strategic guidelines. If you can go to the one before. So just like in the past few years, throughout the program, we've been focusing on intermodality, which has been the core of the Freight Innovation Fund. And we're also looking at scalable offerings at the TRL level 5+, potentially applicable across the nation as well. According to the 5 vision statements, the sexual innovation should be cost-efficient, reliable, resilient, environmentally sustainable, and valuable for our society. We're also following DfT strategic priorities, so we're aiming at growing the economy by enhancing transport networks in terms of time and budget, improving the overall user experience of our networks, and of course also reducing its impact on the environment. So tackling the climate crisis is obviously a big priority for us. Next slide, please. So in this open call, as Anna mentioned, we have 4 challenges. One is renewable energy supply. Second one is autonomy in freight and logistics. Third one focuses on supply chain resilience. And then we also have an open challenge, just like we did actually, I think 2 years ago. Next slide, please. I'm going to run through the 4 challenges. So for the first one, We're looking at renewable energy supplies, and the challenge reads innovative ways to decarbonize and stabilize the energy supply of freight areas such as depot and ports, effectively and affordably. Next slide, please. So for this challenge, we're looking at how freight spaces are becoming more of energy hubs, and to increase the amount of renewable energy supply to charge HEVs, running automated systems, powering electric vehicles and more is oftentimes beyond the local grid capacity. So the challenge here in this space is how do we decarbonize and stabilize the energy supply without increasing costs and creating bottlenecks? On the other end, we also had from our partners that we were also seeing a sort of like contrasting issue, in particular where large modern facilities such as ports are generating more energy, more green energy than they need. So they're trying to sort of find ways to supply the local communities as well. And the opportunities, obviously, to reposition freight areas from passive energy consumers to active energy assets so that we can improve the impact on the planet. Some of our examples, we for each of the challenges, we will have examples on the side. Obviously, they don't cover all of the examples, but those are some of the technologies that came out from our partners. Something that we want to stress for this challenge is out of scopes. Our solutions are sort of looking at the national impact on the grid. And we're only looking at local level impact for this one. Next slide, please. So the second challenge, we're looking at the next generation of autonomous technologies that can support decarbonization, safety and efficiency for the intermodal freight sector and its logistics. Next slide, please. So autonomy in this sector, of course, goes beyond autonomous vehicles. We're also looking at autonomous yard operations, robotic warehousing, AI-driven routing, automated inspections, drones, and more. The challenge in this case is integrating these technologies in a way that is safe and efficient within complex systems without disruptions. And autonomy has been largely explored by our partners as well. It's not new, but so one of the challenges in these areas is also to push towards really the next generation of technologies and solutions that can really improve and innovate the sector. And we're also particularly interested in how these innovations can improve safety, reduce emissions, and increase asset utilizations for our partners. Some of the examples here are autonomous shuttles in controlled environment, robotic pallet handling, drone asset inspections, autonomous management systems, connected yards, and advanced learning for upskilling. Next slide, please. The third challenge is on supply chain resilience. And for this one, we're searching for solutions that might support industry shift towards innovation-enabled and resilience-driven adaptive freight and logistics systems. Next slide. We've seen for many years now how political challenges, geopolitical events, and unpredictable climate-related disruptions can really affect the UK freight and logistic networks. And these have also highlighted how fragile supply chains can be to those disruptions. So the challenge here is to move towards sort of resilience-driven systems and flexible forecasting models so that we can adapt easily to unpredictability and disruptive weather. So the opportunity is obviously to demonstrate that resilience can really be designed and delivered through innovation. And some of these innovation can be, for example, predictive risk platforms, real-time weather integrated routing systems, digital twins that can simulate disruptive scenarios, sensor networks monitoring asset stress, resilience core tools for supply chain. And you have more on the slides for you to look at. Next slide, please. So our last challenge, as mentioned, is an open challenge. for innovation technologies and solutions that aim at improving the impact on nature, efficiency, and safety of intermodal freight. Next slide. So these open challenges really targeted to all the technologies and the SMEs that do not respond to any of the previous challenges. So, but who really believe that their innovations and solutions can contribute to a more sustainable or safer, advanced, and efficient freight and logistics sectors. Having open challenges in the past has also been really helpful for us to really better understand the market and shape our future challenges and program accordingly. We have some example here because obviously we base the open call also on the insights from our partners, and we know what kind of other technologies might be required. So we have as examples decarbonizing systems and solutions, planet-centered innovation and design, software as a service solutions, retrofitting, lots of net zero, new health and safety upgrades. So you can kind of see the sectors that our partners are really interested in. The one thing that we really want to stress is also to really read and understand the first three challenges and only apply to this one if your solution doesn't tackle the previous three scenarios. And I also want to remember that the slides are also the slides on our challenges will also be available on our website, and we're able to access them before submitting your application. Next slide. And I think it's back to Hannah.
Great, thanks so much, Ellie. Yeah, next I'll be talking a little bit more about the application and selection process. So as I mentioned earlier, the deadline for applying is midday on June 1st. The eligibility criteria is that you must be an SME. You must address one of the challenges that Ali has just spoken about. You must be TRL 5+, and in the application must give a justification for why you are TRL 5 or above. You have to be a UK registered company with operations in the UK, and you have to be VAT registered and willing to test your solution in a real world environment. If you have any more questions about the eligibility criteria, we do cover it off in our FAQ document. On our open call page, you can see it'll take you through to the application process, which we're doing through Simply Do, and all of the supporting documents that I've spoken about so far. Next slide. To reduce bias, we are running the open call anonymously. So that review process will be anonymous to every assessor that we have supporting us on FIF. Please do try and avoid including your company name or any personal details in any of your answers. Of course, there's only so much we can do to try and make sure this is as anonymous as possible. So if you can refer to yourself as the company or the solution, that would be great. Next slide, please. Just to talk through some of the key dates. So as I said, the open call is already opened and has been for a couple of weeks now. The deadline is the 1st of June. We will be shortlisting companies sort of late June and running a series of interviews, technical and business interviews, trying to understand, your solution and your journey so far, and commercial interviews with some of the partners in DFT in early July. We will then be notifying successful SMEs at the beginning of August and having our welcome day on the 18th of August, as well as a showcasing event sometime in February that will be completely free and open to everybody in the community. Next slide, please. So I think this is our last slide. We do have quite a lot of time now for questions, which is great, but just as a reminder, there's a QR code for you to see the open call page for where you can directly apply to the program. And if we aren't able to cover off your questions now, or if you have any down the line, please scan the QR code on the left-hand side. We will have 2 one-hour drop-in sessions, one on the 13th of May and one on the 19th of May. This will be an hour where myself and the rest of the FIF team will be online, and feel free to drop in and we can talk you through any questions that you felt were not addressed in the webinar or in the FAQ section, or you wanted a little bit more detail on. Great. So we've got some time now for questions. Thank you so much to the rest of the team who were able to provide a bit of an overview of FIF and, really bring the program to life. Please, if you do have any questions, post them into the Q&A box now. I can see we already have a couple coming in. The first of which is, do both stage grants include VAT? So this year, we have two stages. The first stage is for trial design. So that will just be pure grant funding and will be exclusive of VAT. Whereas the second stage, which is trial delivery, will be run through pre-commercial because it's R&D procurement, which means that it will be inclusive of that. The second question is on whether you can apply again to the program if you've been through it before. So if you've been through the program before and you're looking to apply again, even if you applied for a different challenge, which this year all of the challenges are different, you would have to have a different use case. So your technology could not be the same technology that you're trying to test. It would have to have developed in some way or have a different application. Hope that makes sense, but please tell me if not. The third question is on the open challenge. So as Ale spoke about, we have a couple of examples of where partners were interested in specific use cases that weren't covered off in challenges 1 to 3. But we have put those examples into the challenge brief. So you can look at those examples to see where your solution might fit into those and therefore apply to challenge 4. As Ale said, we will be a bit stricter this year on if your challenge does seem like it applies to challenge 1 to 3, but you do apply for 4, we will be considering whether or not we take your application forward. The next question is, can we apply for this fund and another fund at the Catapult? For example, applying for this fund and Trig and getting funding from both. So Trig is for an early TRL level. It's for TRL 2 to 4 and is wider than Freight. It's for transport research and innovation. I would say if you've got different products, one that fits into a TRL 2 to 4, but another one that's TRL 5 and above, you probably could apply for both, but you couldn't do the same one because they would be at different maturities. And because of the grant funding, that's the trial design phase. If you've already sort of capped out the amount of grant funding you've received over the last couple of years, you would have to consider that as well. Next, if we need to be anonymous, how can we name partners in the work packages? So you will have the selection to put in which partners you want to apply for, and that will be in an anonymous section that reviewers won't see until you're shortlisted to interview. And then once we're preparing for interviews, that will be taken into consideration. Hope that makes sense. Do you know if the partner organizations would welcome being approached to discuss whether they would be willing to be matched within our application? So for this, if you're already having ongoing conversations with those partners, that is great. We know that it's a really good success metric to have that sort of ongoing relationship and understanding and, working with them already to understand, what their procurement route is, what it is they're exactly looking for, which is great. I'm sure they'd be open to talking a little bit more about solutions, but we would say that once you've applied and you've been shortlisted, the partners will go through those applications in great detail and we will be going through it with them. So that provides a really good opportunity for us all to collectively talk about whether or not that match is good. Next, Can we apply for the same fund with two different challenges and solutions? Again, it depends on what your products are. If you have a very specific case, please feel free to email. I think it was in our webinar slides, but Freight Innovation Fund at cp.catapult.org.uk. If you've got a specific use case that you'd like to talk about, I'm happy to take that offline. Next, can we select more than one partner? Yes, definitely. So last year was the first time that we trialed SMEs partnering with more than one partner, and we had many SMEs who successfully trialed with 3 different partners at 3 different locations. Really encourage this if it feels like a good fit. For example, if you have a solution that is maritime based, we do have quite a few maritime partners, and having a couple of, several partners means that you really get to sort of gather all the requirements across the maritime sector to make sure that your solution isn't too bespoke to one partner, but more for the sector as a whole. Next, we've got a more specific question on a pilot, which could cost quite a lot of money, and how we can pilot that for £100,000. So we do understand that, some more hardware-based solutions can be a lot more expensive to trial. The Freight Innovation Fund does have quite a specific case. There are other programs like Drive 35, which are more sort of suitable for more hardware-based solutions, some that are more software-based. So unfortunately, we won't be able to change that cap. I think those are all the questions so far.
Hannah, if you go to the Q&A box, there's more. I think like
yes, there are many
yeah.
more.
There are a lot more, yeah.
There are a lot more. Okay, so given there are 7 partners already and 8 trials, there's only space for 1 trial. No, so we've got 8 program partners, so any SME can apply to be partnered with any of them, and you can apply to have many partners as well. If you were successful and you had an independent partner, that wouldn't affect sort of your space. So it's 12 spaces and then 8. And then what do we have next? Yes, if you don't have a partner yet, you can select a partner from the list. So as I mentioned in the interview stage, when we shortlist down the SMEs, the interview stage, it's also a real opportunity for any of the partners who see all of the applications that have been shortlisted to really get to know you and understand your solution better. So that's a really good opportunity to see if there's a good match. We have even had cases where we felt that there's been a good match, but an SME hasn't specifically selected to be partnered with that industry partner, but we've, set up that conversation just in case that match could be made as well. So the next question is on the funding for phase 1 and match funding. So the example that I gave was just an example of what you'd have to match fund on top of it. So you could receive up to £10,000 of funding, but we would expect you to match fund on top of that. Hope that makes sense. So what are the most common reasons applications are unsuccessful, and how can SMEs avoid these pitfalls? And is there an opportunity to receive feedback on the draft applications? So just due to the volume of applications, especially that we received last year, we won't be able to give you initial feedback on draft applications. My words of advice would be that at CPC, we do a lot of due diligence on grant funding applications. As Steve said, we know they are and can be extremely brutal, but that is because we want to gain the most amount of detail and really understand your product, your solution, and the change that you're trying to enable. And so we do ask for quite a lot of information. I would say really go through all of the documents. We've spent the last couple of months really tailoring the challenge document, the partner profiles, the FAQs. You can also look at the previously successful SMEs to understand, who's been successful and why, and, really give as much detail and be very specific to the questions. If assessors feel that you're not answering the question and they're being assessed on how well that you've scored to that specific question, that will come through as well. Next. So on independent partners, we've got a question on, are applicants permitted to bring their own partners? Yes. And is there a minimum level of commitment required? So for independent partners, we would hope that we would not sign an MOU with those independent partners. So it would be sort of the responsibility of the SME to make sure that they're committed. In terms of the level of commitment that's required, we would expect them to come to the welcome day to really, hash out your trial design plan. And then we would have monthly meetings where we would keep in touch between CPC, the SME, and the partners. There are a couple of sort of bespoke one-off showcasing events and other wider opportunities that it would be nice for that program partner to be in. But really, it's just to be engaged with the trial design phase, making sure that they're doing everything that they can to make sure that your trial is delivered as best as it can. What else do we have here? What counts as match funding? So the details of this are in our FAQ section, but things like technical expertise, hardware that you're using, how much it might cost to rent something for a day, those can all be considered match funding. Yeah, materials, equipment, etc. Yes. And labor as well. Next, we have, God, there are loads of questions. Is the minimum of TRL5 applicable across all of the challenges? If so, are there any funding programs for innovation below TRL5? Yes, so our program is specifically for TRL5 and above, and that is because the opportunity as being a part of the accelerator is to do that live real world testing of your prototype, which is kind of what gets you from a TRL 5, 6 to 7. In terms of what you could apply for if you're below TRL 5, I would highly recommend TRIG. You can go onto the Catapult website just to gain an understanding of what TRIG is. I know that they haven't done any sort of announcements about it so far, and I won't talk about it that much further, but that would be my recommendation for what would be more suitable. What do we have next? What is the difference between the two types of interviews? Great question. So the first technical and business interview will be held by CPC, and those will be people who would be, if you were successful, directly engaged with you as part of the trial design and delivery process. So we'll have a trial manager as well as myself who would be interviewing you. And that's really just to get to know your solution a bit more and assess, what are you at TRL 5? What have you been doing in the run up to applying for the Freight Innovation Fund that might mean that you're a really good match for the accelerator. And then the commercial one is where DFT and the potential industry partners who are interested in your product or who applied for your trial come in and ask you a bit more questions about, what would the trial look like specifically. And so the two bits are really to get two different perspectives of whether or not you can be successful to go on to phase 1 of the program. Couple more questions coming in. We've come across another accelerator named GXO. Are we speaking to the same people? Yes. So Claire Charlton is the lead for the GXO accelerator, but she is also a program partner on our accelerator as well. She is wonderful and very engaged, and we are very grateful to have her on the program. They are touching on different use cases, and the amount of funding between our accelerator versus the GXO one is different. So you might find that the opportunities between the two are more aligned for one SME than another. A couple of questions, but I think some of them have now been answered. Yeah, there are quite a few on the program partners and getting in touch with them. I would say if you're already in touch with them, that is great. But if not, please follow through the process and you will have ample opportunity to speak to them and understand whether or not your solution is a good fit and what a trial would look like with them. If we have our own partner already, should we contact program partners anyways? So yes, if you already have someone outside of the program partners that you're keen to apply with, but you would like the additional exposure of potentially delivering a trial with one of our industry partners, you can apply for both as well. Yeah, definitely put both down. To Alyssa directly, do we need to engage with your team as well?
Thank you for the question. Most of your engagement will be done with Hannah and the team at CPC, but there certainly will be occasions where myself, others from the DFT attend meetings and we're there too. So you will have the opportunity to speak to us, to kind of get our input where you would like it, and similarly to provide us with any feedback that you think is relevant. So yes, so there will be opportunities, but as I said, most of the engagement will be through Hannah and her team.
Yeah, definitely. And Alyssa, not to put you on the spot at all, but through me talking through some of the questions, is there anything else that you would like to share about the program or, provide a little bit more clarity on? No worries if not.
No, just to pick up on your point about Trig, I think that was really good signposting there, Hannah. And I would certainly say if you do have innovations that are below TRL 5 to have a look at the Transport Research Innovation Grants Programme. That essentially looks for innovations kind of across the breadth of transport, but there are kind of more focused, nuanced bits within there. So certainly there is like a freight call that's often within there. There's a maritime decarbonisation call that's been in there previous years. So what you can often do is if your innovation is at that lower TRL stage, sometimes innovators will kind of go through the TRIG process, and then in the following year they will look to kind of come through the Freight Innovation Fund Accelerator. So that's how we kind of ensure that you've kind of got that pipeline from the lower TRLs into the kind of mid TRLs. So certainly, as Hannah says, definitely one for those of you with lower TRLs to have a look at that programme and to obviously keep us in your sights for once you've gone through it.
Great. Thanks so much, Alyssa. And just to add on to that, even in our fourth cohort, and you can see if you do lots of research on people who have been through TRIG versus those who have been through FIF, there's been a really high success rate between those who have successfully gone through FIF, through TRIG, and then on to FIF. And so if you are at that earlier stage level and you don't feel like this is necessarily the right accelerator for you at this moment, going through that process is a really good idea. So I think that is the end. Oh, we've got a couple more coming in. Some of these are quite specific questions. As I mentioned, we do have a mailbox, Freight Innovation Fund at cp.catapult.org.uk. That's also on our open call page with your more specific questions. That inbox will be constantly monitored until the end of the open call. So please do send in your questions and we will be able to answer those as well. Just having another check if there are any more that are worth covering. When it comes to the first stage, are any costs that have already been incurred covered? I would probably need to understand your context a bit more, but I would say no, we would look directly at the labor, equipment, and materials that need to be incurred as part of delivering that trial design plan or the trial delivery. Just checking if we have any of our partners on the call at the moment to see if they want to say a couple of words about their experience on the program so far, or that they're looking forward to their experience in the program as well. Ah, we've got Tom. Hi, Tom.
Hi, Hannah. Hello. I am on a train, so I'm going to be really
Sorry to put you on the spot.
on the spot. Is fine. On the spot on a train. Really looking forward to being involved, and yeah, more than happy to have conversations with anyone who wants to talk about partnerships in advance.
Great. Thank you so much, Tom. I think we'll probably close the webinar there. I feel like we've got through quite a few of the questions. As I said, there is a whole load of information on our open call page, an FAQ section, and if you have any more specific questions, please feel free to email them through to our inbox. But I just wanted to thank everyone so much for your time today and for considering the Freight Innovation Fund Accelerator as well. Great. Thanks so much.
Thank you.